All right, thank you, Jason. So, given that we're a little bit behind time, I am going to skip some of the items I wanted to talk about the theme. We're going to talk about some of that tomorrow. I can skip it because I know the next speaker is going to touch on a lot of those themes a lot better than I would. But I want to start where I left off. Raise your hand if you were in Arizona for our summit. Not ever, but for the summit. So in Arizona, you may remember that when I spoke on the Friday at the beginning of the summit, I talked about the fact that at the time, my grandfather was really sick, and I was dealing with just the concept of death, and I said, it is weird that we have this appropriately extreme reaction to death. You know, in my heritage and religion, Catholicism, we have a wake, everybody takes off work for that, and then the funeral, and we get really sad, we tell stories about a person, and it's this appropriately dramatic moment. But at the Arizona Summit, I said, you know, it's weird we don't have an equivalent for bringing people into our lives, with the exception of the birth of a child or a wedding proposal. We don't really celebrate when we meet somebody new. It's not like you meet somebody at the Arena Summit and are just like, "Rah, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me." But what we've learned over time at the Arena Summit is that some of the people we've met, especially those who've been around a lot of these things, have become really good friends. My roommates, I've met one of them at the Arena Summit, the other has been to all of them. People have met their campaign managers, their best friends, their significant others. And so this is really meaningful to us. And so when we talk about love in action, that love starts with the people in this room. And when I gave those remarks in Arizona, I really didn't fully appreciate the gravity of what I was saying. And in the years since, our community has been challenged to really live that value and that message from that Friday. If you were in Nashville Summit, raise your hand. If you're at the Nashville Summit. This was an intimate gathering. This was not a huge gathering that we had. And one of our hosts is somebody who I went to law school with, and she came through the doors, and she's vibrant, super smart, amazing person named Anna Vorzik-Griest. And we learned after the Arizona Summit, we hadn't heard from her since the Nashville Summit. And it turns out that she was battling a very severe case of cancer. She was our host for Nashville. And she got the news almost immediately after coming back from that summit, and she passed away this past year. And so it's a reminder that the people in this room, you can't take them for granted, and we should be excited to meet each other and to build, build on the conversations that we have this weekend, because we have to be urgent both about what's happening to our country, but also about what we can do together as a community. And it's hit us home even further because one of the co-founders of our organization, I'm not going to mention her name, but somebody I've known for 10 years now, this past summer was diagnosed for a second time with extremely serious form of cancer and is going in for a major surgery in just a few days. And this will be the first summit that she's ever missed. And so she would kill me if she knew I said anything about this, but I know that she'd probably also feel lonely if she didn't know that we were thinking about her. And so for those of you who know who she is, keep her in your thoughts. For those of you who just give back to this community or want to be now part of a community now that you've come here for the first time, I just want you to know that this is personal for us. You know, you're our friends. You know, you're our colleagues. You're the people who we want to work with for years to come, and you're people that we want to keep tabs on personally as well. And so when bad things happen, it makes us really sad. But we also want to celebrate the good times we have together. And so with that, I want to just help the folks that are in this room for the first time ever at a summit understand what this community really is, so that at least you get a sense of whether you want to be a part of it or not, because I'm inviting you into this community. We as a community are inviting you in. So what does it mean? Let me give you a brief history, and for those of you who've been here before, I apologize, you're going to hear some things you've heard before. We did our first summit in Nashville, Tennessee. It was about a month after the November election in 2016. None of us were a staff of Arena. We were all doing things around the country. At the time, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. We all came there. We thought we'd get a few dozen folks to show up at this summit. And we had over 400 people from over 30 states in the country show up, and over 40% of the people who came declared that they wanted to run for office. And these folks didn't just declare, they went on and then ran. And I don't have all the time to go through all the people in that room, but Haley Stevens was in that room, and she just emerged from a crowded field in Michigan, is on the ballot in Michigan. We had Suraj Patel. Do we still have Suraj's campaign here? We have some of those folks here. Let's give a shout out to Suraj's campaign. We had Suraj in the room. We had Alessandra Biaggi, who's on the ballot on Thursday in New York State. Alessandra walked through the doors and said, I want to run for this office. She talked about the IDC, this group of breakaway Democrats in New York who caucus with Republicans, and next Thursday she's going to shock the world and make history there. We also had Nicole Clowney, who won a seat in Arkansas, a state house seat. We had Lauren Underwood, who emerged from a pack of 6 other candidates, all men, I think, and is now on the ballot in Illinois. And then we have our hometown boy. Do we have Kevin Madden in the room here? Is Kevin here? He was the first person in 60 years, Democrat, to win a seat for the Delaware City Council, or County Council. 60 years. And so, it was a huge success. We went to Raleigh, North Carolina, and we learned about, what we tried to do in the next few summits was go to places that had a story to tell about what else is happening around the country. So we went to Raleigh, where we learned about serious infringements on our democracy that were particularly pronounced there, but are significant everywhere. And so we learned about racial and political gerrymandering. We learned about voting rights restrictions. We learned about overreach from different chambers of government. And we met a lot of great candidates there. And then we went on to Detroit, Michigan, where we met Rashida Tlaib and Abdul Al-Sayed, and we met Alyssa Slotkin. And we just kept going, and we learned there about the Flint water crisis. We learned about automation's effect on people's lives. We learned about urban renewal and the challenges of gentrification. And then we kept going, and we went to Arizona. And in Arizona, we dug deep into the issues of identity within our country and immigration, and met a whole host of other candidates, and we loved it so much that we've invested a ton through our political action committee in helping to flip that state, and have been supporting everybody from a gubernatorial candidate who emerged victorious just a few weeks ago, and David Garcia, all the way down to candidates like Raquel Tehran, who was our MC in Arizona, who just emerged successful in her primary as well. And so now we're here, we're in Philadelphia, right? And you're gonna learn more about what the arena does, but our mission is to convene, connect, and support the next generation of leaders. That's what we do. You are here at the convening, right? You have now convened. We've done that part now. We're here. What you're gonna do over the next 2 days is connect. And I wanna make a plug to you. Number one is take the norm seriously. Put your phones away. There are many opportunities in your life to look at a phone or tweet and all that. I don't care how many times you tweet about us. I don't care how many followers you have. I'd rather you make a connection with the people around you and make new friends. If you're coming here for the 5th time, find folks you've never met before. If you're coming here for the first time, just let people know that and let them know you want to talk. And there are certain parts that matter more than others. And this is going to sound silly, but the dinner and the parties are actually the most important parts of this whole thing. So come to the dinner after all of this, sit down and have a conversation with people you didn't meet. My mom was yelling at me as I walked in here because she had to sit at a table with people she didn't know. I'm sorry for the people who are sitting at the table. I'm sure she loves you now. But we're doing this on purpose because we want folks who've been to different summits to meet new people, and folks who walk through the door to meet people for the first time. But also come to the party, even if you're the type of person who doesn't come to parties, because that's where we have a huge opportunity for folks to really get to know each other. And also, and I'm not saying this as a joke, we have to take into account a lot of the things that we just heard and should know already about how to handle being at a party. And so we will have our staff present. We have folks with staff badges. If anything goes on that you want us to know about, please let us know. But show up as adults, engage with each other. We've got one party in a beautiful spot tonight and another one at another great spot tomorrow. It's meant for you to get to know each other and build on the relationships that we have in this room. And so with that, I've been told that our next speaker does not want a long introduction. So everything I did, Mayor Landry, that wasn't the introduction, so don't hold me accountable to that. This is the introduction. So Mr. Mayor, I lived in the South for 6 years, spent a lot of time in New Orleans. I'm a huge fan of everything that you did. When we were talking about the theme of the summit, you were the first person that we thought about. You're somebody that we hope run for president. When we're playing the parlor game of who's going to run, there are a lot of folks at our table who say that if that guy ran, we would get out there and work for you and help you achieve the vision that you're about to lay out. So with no further ado, let me welcome up Mayor Mitch Landrieu.